55% of Brazil is covered in forest. So for this week's podcast in English.com, we're talking about trees. 2 Brazilian trees.
The Brazil wood tree and the Brazil nut tree.
Now, I know about Brazil nuts, but I've never heard of the Brazil wood tree. Is that an Amazon rainforest tree?
No, Richard. It's a tree that grew along the coast of Brazil hundreds of years ago. Very popular with the early Portuguese explorers.
You said grew, so does that mean it's extinct?
No, it's not extinct, Richard, but there are not so many Brazil wood trees now as in the past. The trees were cut down because they produced a wonderful red dye.
Ah. So the name then, they called the tree after the country then, did they?
In fact, Brazil is the only country named after a tree.
So the country was named after the tree?
Yes, because the trees were so important at that time, the country's name came after the tree.
So we've got the Brazil wood tree, but you've also got the Brazil nut tree. Where did that come from?
The Brazil nut tree is named after the country, Richard, and it's an amazing tree.
So is that an Amazon rainforest tree then?
Yes, it is, and it's one of the biggest trees. It grows up to 50 metres tall.
That's tall.
And the trunk of the tree is very tall, right? The branches are near the top, and the fruit, which has the nuts in, is at the top of the tree, right? So the fruit is the size of a baseball.
Wow.
It weighs 2 kilos, and that falls from 50 metres. It falls at 80 kilometres an hour.
So you don't want to be underneath the tree when that happens.
Someone has died because the fruit landed on his head.
Wow, I know people die from coconuts landing on them, but I've never heard of a Brazil nut tree death.
The trees can live, Richard, for 500 years. And they think there are some trees which are 1,000 years old.
Wow, like the olive trees round here then. Very old.
And in 1 year, one Brazil nut tree can produce over 100 kilograms of nuts.
That's a lot. So it's called the Brazil nut tree. Is it only found in Brazil?
No, Richard. It's found in the Amazon rainforest, and the Amazon rainforest covers quite a few countries, right? And in fact, the country that exports most Brazil nuts is Bolivia.
Oh, that's interesting in itself, but only grown around the Amazon.
Exactly. So Brazil, the only country named after a tree.
And the only tree named after a country.
I think so.